People always ask for something new. It's inevitable. At 50, well, it stops.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect. One single injection unlocks your DNA and will release another version of yourself. This is the substance.
I'm Sue. Sue.
You're hired.
Let's go.
A perfect balance of 7 days each. The one and only thing not to forget. You are one. You can't escape from yourself.
There's been a slight misuse of the substance.
This balance is not working.
Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop? Would you like to stop?
I'm fine. Everything's fine. You have to
Control yourself! Old, fat, disgusting.
People are gonna love that.
Well, this has been a movie that's been on my radar for quite a long time. I'm a big fan of Coralie Farja. I loved her first film, Revenge. I just love her style. She is really working in kind of primary colors, primary sensations.
Right.
Very, very visceral. She's obviously operating in the modality of body horror as well, which is kind of like one of my favorite subgenres as well. So when I found out that she was releasing this film, and I found out that the casting, I was immediately hooked on the concept and the whole thing.
Okay.
So I had pretty high expectations coming into it. I saw the trailer, and the trailer blew me away.
What was it about the casting then?
Well, because I'm a huge fan of Demi Moore.
Right, okay.
I really love her.
I didn't know that about you.
Yes. Well, remember when we recorded, I think it was for Projections podcast.
Yeah.
And one of the films that I brought to the table was Striptease.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course it was.
I've always really loved Demi Moore. And I've always suspected that she was sort of underplayed in a sense, even though she was always like an A-list star in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I felt like they were over-relying on how she looked and not really tapping into her potential as a great drama actress.
I'd written quite a bit about Demi Moore, believe it or not, back when I did my MA, because my MA was on conspiracy films in the broadest sense of that.
Yes.
And part of that cycle was the movies she did with Michael Douglas, like Disclosure, and then those other sort of late 80s, early 90s films where she was this sort of, a femme fatale of that era. And I think she's always had that sense of, there's definitely a sense of sexiness, but there's also a sense of power underpinning that with Demi Moore, I always thought.
Definitely. I felt the same too watching her. And I think, yes, if it makes sense that that the industry had the impulse to capitalize on her looks, because she is a very beautiful woman. But I always believed she was even undervalued in terms of the depth and power, as you say, that she brings.
Yeah.
I always thought that she was underestimated. So when I found out that Coralie Farja was going to be working with her, I thought this is going to be the director to have the instinct and the intuition to work with this type of power. So when I went into my first screening of The Substance, my expectations were sky high.
It's always dangerous, isn't it?
It's always a dangerous game because when you really anticipate loving a movie, you could be badly let down. But that did not happen for me. In fact, the film surpassed those expectations for me. I was completely blown away. I always have like a running list of titles every year that I want to include in my top 10. And at this moment in time, The Substance is in spot 1. Okay. So it's really, I think your hunch that I was going to be all over this was correct. Yeah. I really loved it.
Yeah. And I mean, again, loving it is probably, it's not the kind of film that I would get to that point of absolutely loving it, because it's not that the body horror necessarily that turns me off, because I do like some body horror movies, like historically. And I guess it's just that how far do you want to push that before it gets to the point where the pleasure sort of dissipates and it just becomes endurance. And make no mistake, this is as extreme as you will see in a mainstream movie that doesn't sort of carry the moniker of something like torture porn or whatever.
Sure.
You know, it really goes to the limit, doesn't it, towards the end? I mean, we'll come back to Demi in a second, but I mean, where did you feel it went, you know, at the end? Where did you sit on that kind of that tip of where the pleasure and the pain is of this experience, you know, just as a watcher?
Yeah, that's such a great question. For me, I just immediately felt the central theme of the film about, you know, being about self-loathing and self-hatred.
Right, that's interesting, yeah.
And someone who wants desperately to be loved, but actually doesn't show themselves that consideration, compassion, and love. They're very, you know, her character, Elizabeth, Demi's character, she's extremely hard on herself. She sort of internalized the beauty standards of her industry, which are very patriarchal, phallocentric, whatever label you want to put on it. But they are fixated on the experiential pleasure of men looking at women. She's
internalized that kind of external validation, and then right at the beginning it's kind of cut off straight away, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, when she's fired from this role, you know?
Yes, exactly. So in a way, like, she has fully bought, you know, hook, line, and sinker, the preposterous value system about women's worth. And so she has internalized that, and whether she's conscious of that or not, this is what governs all her decisions, including the now, you know, quite life-altering, mind-altering decision to split herself apart through this chemical substance that she injects into her body, and effectively splits off her cells and creates this second woman, or this second aspect of herself. It's actually still herself. We're always reminded that they are one, but it is a younger, more youthful, very fresh, you know, aspect of herself. I think that to your question about the body horror, the extremity of it, because I think Coralie Farja is definitely picking up and running with the kind of the tropes of the new French extremity movement in cinema, but she's playing them in a kind of, in a way, in an absurdist way. It's not even blind the hatred, and willingly is in a way like putting it as a governing force on her life. The fact that the film ends in that orgy of gore and blood and just physical disfiguration, I actually think that is proportional to the original value and the original sensibility and spirit of the film, which is self-loathing. This is someone who's intent on self-harming. Self-harming to the extent of even making herself extinguished, which is so ironic because when we first see Elizabeth, yes, she is an older woman, and we understand from the script that she's over 50.
But it's still Demi Moore.
It's still Demi Moore. She is a very beautiful woman, and that makes it even more, the irony even makes it more kind of crazy in a sense, that someone as gorgeous as her, irrespective of her age, I believe she could be 120 and still look stunning. I really do think that it's her essence that makes her beautiful.